the bustling city of Omaha, Nebraska, 26-year-old James Foster sat in a small, dimly lit apartment, staring at his laptop screen. He had spent the last few months trying to build his investment portfolio, but nothing seemed to work. Every decision he made ended in failure. James had always admired Warren Buffett, the legendary investor, reading every book and article about his strategies. He dreamed of becoming a successful investor, but his reality was far from it. His savings were dwindling, and doubt crept into his mind. One evening, as he scrolled through financial news, he saw an announcement that Warren Buffett would be speaking at an investment summit in Omaha. The event was expensive, but something inside James told him he needed to be there. So, he made a bold decision. He would use his last $500 to attend. This wasn't just about learning anymore. It was about survival. He had no idea that this single choice would change his entire life. The conference hall buzzed with energy. James sat among a crowd of seasoned investors, feeling completely out of place. Then Warren Buffett took the stage. For an hour, Buffett shared his insights, long-term thinking, patience, and the power of compounding. But James had one burning question, and when the Q&A session began, he raised his hand. Buffett pointed at him. "Yes, young man?" James took a deep breath. "Mr. Buffett, I've read everything about investing, but every decision I make fails. I've lost almost all my money. What am I doing wrong?" The room fell silent. Buffett adjusted his glasses and smiled. "You're asking the right question, and that means you're on the right path," he said. Then he invited James to meet him privately after the event. James couldn't believe what was happening. James found himself sitting across from Warren Buffett in a quiet conference room. The old investor leaned back and asked, "Tell me about your investment decisions." James explained everything, his impulsive trades, chasing trends, and trying to time the market. Buffett listened patiently before finally speaking. "You're playing the wrong game, son. Investing isn't about quick wins, it's about making calculated decisions and letting time do the heavy lifting." He continued, "Most people fail at investing because they let emotions control their decisions. Fear and greed are your enemies. The market will always go up and down, but if you focus on buying great businesses and holding them long term, you'll win." James had read similar advice before, but hearing it from Buffett himself made it real. "Here's a challenge for you," Buffett said. "Pick one company you truly believe in. Buy its stock, and don't touch it for 10 years. Can you do that?" James nodded, though he wasn't sure if he truly could. "Good," Buffett said. "Now let's talk about something even more important than money." Buffett leaned in. "Tell me about your daily habits." James hesitated. He spent most of his time reading market news, watching financial YouTube videos, and following stock trends. Buffett chuckled. "You're consuming too much noise and not enough wisdom." He then shared one of his most important principles. The best investment you'll ever make is in yourself. Develop habits that make you better every single day. Read books, surround yourself with smart people, and learn to think independently. James scribbled notes furiously. "Success is about consistency," Buffett added. "The small, smart choices you make daily will determine where you'll be in 10 years. So ask yourself, are your habits leading you to the life you want?" That night, James couldn't sleep. For the first time, he realized that his real problem wasn't the stock market, it was his mindset. Determined to follow Buffett's advice, James took a step back from his impulsive trading habits. He spent the next month analyzing businesses instead of chasing stock trends. One company stood out, a tech firm with solid financials, strong leadership, and a history of steady growth. Instead of overanalyzing every fluctuation, James bought shares and made a promise to himself. He wouldn't touch them for 10 years, no matter what happened. At first, it was difficult. Every market dip made him anxious. But whenever he felt the urge to sell, he remembered Buffett's words. If you wouldn't be happy owning a stock for 10 years, don't even think about owning it for 10 minutes. He shifted his focus to building better habits, reading daily, networking with like-minded investors, and thinking long-term. Slowly, his perspective on money, risk, and success began to change. One day, he received an email that shocked him. Buffett had arranged for James to attend a private dinner with some of the most successful investors in the country. James realized something crucial. Success wasn't just about investing in stocks. It was about investing in the right relationships. At the exclusive dinner, James found himself sitting among billionaire investors, CEOs, and financial strategists. Nervous but determined, he listened carefully to every conversation. Buffett raised his glass. "To the future of smart investing," he said, smiling at James. During the dinner, James noticed a common theme. All the successful investors focused on simplicity, patience, and understanding the true value of a business. One investor leaned over and told James, "The stock market is a wealth transfer machine, from the impatient to the patient." That night, James didn't just gain investment knowledge, he gained a new mindset. Before leaving, Buffett put a hand on his shoulder and said, "You've already won half the battle, James. The rest is about sticking to the plan." For the first time, James felt confident that he was truly on the right path. A year later, the stock market crashed. Headlines screamed, "Recession is here," and investors panicked. James watched his investments drop by 40%. His hands trembled as he hovered over the sell button. The fear was overwhelming. Then he remembered Buffett's advice. The stock market is designed to transfer money from the active to the patient. Taking a deep breath, he resisted the urge to sell. Instead, he bought more shares. Months later, the market rebounded and his portfolio skyrocketed. James had just learned one of the most valuable lessons in investing. True wealth is built during downturns, not booms. His patience paid off, and for the first time, he saw himself not as a struggling investor, but as a disciplined one. 10 years passed. James, now a successful investor, looked at his portfolio. His initial investment in that tech company had grown tenfold. More importantly, he had built a reputation for helping new investors, just as Buffett had helped him. One day, he received an invitation to speak at an investment summit, the same event where he had once raised his hand asking Buffett for advice. As he stepped onto the stage, he spotted an anxious young man in the audience, just like he had been years ago. James smiled. "The best investment you can make is in yourself," he began. "And remember, patience is what separates the winners from the rest." As the audience applauded, James saw Buffett in the front row, nodding approvingly. The mentor had become the master. James had come full circle. And this was just the beginning.